one of the fundamental points that I've always had about this is that in a world where people randomly get superpowers, it is impossible to maintain the existing social order because all political power ultimately comes from the barrel of a gun, and if you have people who can't be shot, they have no material incentive to obey the law. The only reason legal systems and politics work is because all human beings are mortal. It's as simple as that. And if you have people who are capable of superseding those laws, there's absolutely no reason why they wouldn't. At first, for some people, it would be simple stuff like robbing banks to get money so that they can pay for shit for their family or whatever. But I believe this very sincerely, eventually everything would descend down into just like warlording, you know? You're literally Thomas Hobbes. No, this isn't about humans being fundamentally bad. This is about power differences being fundamentally bad. That if you have a system where people are capable of transcending the incentives by which people are kept in line by the law, that some of them will reject those systems. And the more things break down, the less of an incentive there is for people to abide by those systems. I want you guys to really ask yourself, by the way, in a world as fucked up as in Metro, if you were bulletproof, do you really think you would live from cradle to grave without killing people for money? Or for food? Like, you really think in a world where basic fundamental elements of society have broken down, if you're capable of surviving gunshots, that you wouldn't use that to some extent? Of course you would. You would do it in ways that make sense to you. You would try to do good. And maybe sometimes you would do good. But sometimes you would be, let's say, questionable. We all act questionably in day-to-day. Even normal, moral people do. We're not perfect arbiters of morality. Now, let's say it's not just you who has powers, but it's thousands of people around the country. Do you think all of them are going to be moral all the time? Don't you think some of them are going to believe that they could fix society's problems if they took control? Don't you think some of them, maybe even some of the people in chat, might think, wow, society is fucked up. People are starving. People are dying. If I took control, then maybe I could save this. Maybe I could fix these problems. This has happened in real life. The difference is, in real life, despots still aren't bulletproof. You guys understand the point that I'm trying to make, right? Things would go bad quickly. So the premise that I think would be fun exploring in these little novelettes or short stories or whatever. Well, hold on. Well, like, yeah, this already happens in superhero stories. They just call the other hero villains. No. That's the juvenility of regular superhero stories. Villains exist to do petty crimes in a system that has been maintained. The DC, the Marvel Universe, the world still operates as normal. Work culture, the agriculture industry, military-industrial complex, nation-states, borders, all of it works as normal, and then you just sprinkle superheroes and villains on top of that. That doesn't work. In reality, these systems would collapse almost immediately. Can people in chat please stop trying to draw comparisons to every fucking story they've ever heard in their lives? I'm getting so triggered. Holy fuck, nobody is impressed. Jesus Christ, stop. Just listen. Holy fuck. Anyway, okay? The thing that I think would be interesting is that, like, sometime 6 months ago, okay, people start randomly getting superpowers, blah, blah, okay. And the protagonist that we follow is a person who used to work, like, as a social worker, and is making an effort to keep things from falling, okay? And she can do this in large part because she is slightly more bulletproof than the average person. Slightly, okay? Marginally more so. She's operating somewhere out in the Midwest. People are starving out there because agricultural systems broke down completely and there are bandits on the road and blah, blah. And everyone uses superhumans like mercenaries because superhumans are basically the only people who can safely transport anything to anywhere else. Large parts of the country are starting to fall to warlords. You know, the government has their planes and their tanks, but what does that mean against some of the superhumans? Absolutely nothing. Nothing. Because some of these superhumans are moderately strong, you know? And I thought, and I've said this before, it seems to me like in any kind of superhero setting, superheroes would have their strength graded based on how easy it is to kill them, you know? Like, maybe some superhumans are just really strong, But if you sneak behind them with a baseball bat, you could conceivably kill them, you know? And you could call those tier 1 superhumans or something. Like, if in a straight fight, they would fuck you up. But a very well-trained human, or if you have a weapon on them, you could kill them, you know? And maybe tier 2 would be like, you would need a firearm. You would need, if there's no reasonable way a human being could kill them, you would need a firearm. That's the only shot you have at beating them in a fight. And maybe tier 3 would be like, oh shit, small arms fire doesn't affect them anymore. Like, if you're at a tier 3 and small arms fire doesn't affect you anymore, human beings can no longer kill you. Regular, average human beings no longer have the ability to kill you, period, you know? But maybe military ordnance can. Maybe anti-tank rifles, anti-materiel rifles, stuff like that. Maybe those can penetrate your skin, you know? But maybe tier 4, you literally need military equipment to be killed. Tanks, heavy ordnance, bombing, that kind of stuff. And past that, I mean, it only gets worse from there. But to me, the idea would be, like, if you're tier 3 or tier 4, you're functionally immortal to anything other than a military strike. So why wouldn't you just turn into a warlord? I mean, literally, at that point, you are functionally incapable of being stopped by anything around you, you know? And my thought would be that the character who we're following, from her perspective, she is borderline before tier 2. Like, if you shot her with a 9mm from 100 feet, it would bounce off her skin, but up close it wouldn't. I mean, she is, like, on that line. So she's just strong enough that she's much more durable, faster, and stronger than the average human. But up close, like, she could literally be snuck up to and shot in the back of the head, and that'd be that, you know? So she's on the borderline where she's vulnerable to regular humans with regular human being shenanigans, but she's still way the fuck stronger than average people, you know? And her goal in the story is to try to vaguely keep society together, you know? And the story would be, it follows her meeting with other people, that she travels between Midwest towns, working as a sort of on-hire mercenary, moving food trucks from one place to another, making sure people get their pay, basically trying to keep people from starving. And the more she follows this thread, the more she realizes that the greatest threats that she's facing aren't coming from random bandits and marauders. They're coming from agents of warlords in adjacent towns, regions, counties, states, and that those warlords are being coordinated by the state government. That essentially, in the absence of a functioning United States, the powers that be instead settled on keeping warlords in their pay. Okay, maybe we can't keep America together the way it was before, but we can keep 50 to 100 incredibly strong warlords more or less on our side, because if they go against us, we send our boys after them. Essentially, Washington is just a Black Ops hit squad that deploys after warlords who no longer agree to play the game. You know? Does that make sense? Basically, it's the story of a well-intentioned superhuman trying to keep the town she grew up in together, realizing that the problems with the system that she lives in are being reproduced by the powers that be trying to maintain control in the absence of a stable, functioning government. If that makes any sense. Okay? Yes, Grand, essentially. Does she eventually get stronger? Yes, for reasons that would be incredibly nerdy for me to describe. When does she get big arm? That's a different person. Different protag. This is a different person. The protag of the manga idea, that would be like tier 6. That would be unkillable by known means. Does she become evil when she powers up? No, the goal would be, I wouldn't call them tier 6. That sounds kind of dumb, you know. Anyway, I don't know. I think it'd be cool. The idea that I had for her power is that there's a kind of special metal that starts spreading in certain parts of the world like a fungus, and it did so spontaneously when people started getting superhumans. Like, basically, you know how, like, literally, like, you're out in the forest and you see, like, thin streaks of silver running across, like a tree, and that metal is psychokinetic. It's receptive to certain people's thoughts, and it's receptive to her thoughts. And she can use it. Like, she can wield it and meld it and morph it around her, you know? And she's been collecting as much of it as she can, and it's highly valuable because the metal is effectively indestructible. Like, cuts right through steel, bullets made out of it will shred through anything they fire through. It's just incredibly fucking strong. And she is the only person she's ever met who can control it, so she collects it, and she has a backpack. So she always looks dorky because she's like this tough, like, road warrior looking bitch with muscular arms and rolled up sleeves, and she has a backpack, and in the backpack is like a 40-pound ingot of metal that she whips around and uses as a weapon, you know? So a brick? Well, sure. Have you ever drawn her? Actually, no. How many tiers are there? Are you using tier to better explain? No, I don't. It's not like a specific idea. I just think, okay, like, imagine this, okay? Like, wait, can you imagine this, okay? Imagine like what a hit squad would look like in that world, okay? Like, modern day SWAT tactics, but like everybody on them has like single shot .500 Magnum round like buck pistols that they keep in their belt, because in case they encounter somebody who can't be killed with regular firearms, they always have something else. You know what I mean? The idea of that to me is like so fucking cool. Like anti-superhuman like tracking squads where they're capable of killing like tier 2s, but if it's a tier 3, they're like, oh, well, and they just have like one massive fucking gun. But it's like single shot because they don't use it normally. It'd just be like their backup, their like their retainer weapon, basically. You know, there isn't a Desert Eagle 50 cal though. Yeah, but what if it was bigger? What if it was like a single shot anti-materiel rifle? Like literally, like what if this was like standard equipment for well furnished militaries in this world? Yeah, like the 700 Nitro Express. Like literally, like they're like fighting a group of people. Their bullets like cut through the walls and windows. A bunch of people fall, like their heads turn into mist, but one person doesn't even fucking flinch, you know? And then they fucking run up and punch a dude in half, and people are like, shit. And they reach into their back fucking holster, and there's a gun with a barrel about yay wide. I don't know. I feel like, why wouldn't they use a tier 3 weapon for a tier 1 enemy, make things easier? Because the fucking recoil on those guns would break your wrists, you know? You get what I mean, right? The point would be is that the point that I'm trying to get at is that society would reorganize itself around a very specific and very fastidious awareness of the relative strength differences between people. It wouldn't just be humans and then superhumans preying on them. It would be everyone constantly worrying all the time what everyone else is at. There's no way of knowing visually how strong a person is, so you just have to hope that you're in the company of people you're capable of fighting and winning against. Or at the very least, in a mutually assured destruction sense, people who you're capable of hurting if they try to kill you, you know? But you don't know that to be the case. You don't know if some random guy on the street is secretly capable of like punching through a brick wall. You have no idea. And that uncertainty breaks society. Even in cities that still function as they used to, nobody trusts anybody else because there's no way of maintaining the basic premises of the social contract, our shared vulnerability. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. I'm sorry. I'm going to keep doing this forever otherwise. Let me just pee and then we'll play the game. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. How many viewers did we lose? No, not that many. You all want to hear me ramble about this in the future then, huh? Okay. You know what? If I ever wrote any short story like this, I'll publish it on WordPress, okay? Seriously, I'll publish it on WordPress and you all can critique my writing, okay? Something that's very important about superhero stories, though, is that you need to take inspiration from Hunter x Hunter and JoJo, okay? Because superhero stories where people's powers are like, I can teleport, I'm strong, like, no, fuck that, okay? Your power is that you see people so hard that they remember their childhood and it distracts them, okay? So their solution to beating you is that they have to remember the part of their childhood that made them know how to fight or something. Some shit like that. Just some absolute bullshit like that. Can I say one more thing and then we'll be done? I'm sorry, I'm having fun. Yeah, funny rhetorician, for sure. Okay, one last thing. Can we do one last thing? Please say it. Yeah, okay. It's your stream. True, it is my stream. Emil, the one-armed lady, her I thought it'd be cool if her mother was one of the aforementioned Washington hit squad types, one of the people who gets sent after like problems that are disrupting the pseudo warlord confederacy system that America is using to keep itself together. And it's not just America, by the way. Other parts of the world are even more fucked than America. Like, there are parts of Southeast Asia and Europe that are literally just like failed states now, where it's literally just like Mad Max shit, you know? America maintains a vestige of stability through brutal warlord conquest, you know? Anyway, the powers aren't genetic or anything. It's just a coincidence. But the mom's powers that I thought would be cool is I feel like portals are wildly underused. Wildly underused. Creatures that can create portals in superhuman stories, this is like world-ending shit, potentially. Unbelievably strong shit. But they never use them. It's always like some weird utility thing to get stuff from A to B. But I thought, like, if you really use those powers, I mean, really use them, first of all, you never have to reload, ever. Anything. Any weapon you want is instantly in your hand the nanosecond that you want, okay? If you're next to a person, you have a knife. If you're far away from a person, you have a gun. Any possible downside to any weapon you could ever have is annihilated by the fact that you can instantly replace them. If you want to leave, you can leave. If you want to teleport them in half, you can teleport them in half. If you want to, you can open two portals, one of them in front of the person and the other in the vacuum of space, and just kill them right there. And I thought it would be super fucking cool if somebody used those powers to the utmost of their potential. And I thought the thing that would be coolest, because to me it would be like, space is 100 kilometers above us, more or less. If you open portals that are far away, that's got to be really taxing, right? Like, maybe there's a logistical reason why you can't do that to kill every single person you fight, you know? You could also make an argument that opening portals directly on top of superhumans would be really difficult because there's some kind of energy expenditure involved in tearing them open. Maybe you can't do that directly. But here's something you could do, okay? Imagine you have the ability to open portals and you have the command of what is remaining of the United States military at your hands. What if you had a battleship parked off the coast and you had a radio link to the commander and you had them fire right as you open portals in front of their main guns? I mean, you could like at any given point, you could literally have the largest ordnance the humans have ever built striking people directly in front of you. I mean, you could just annihilate. You have pinpoint accuracy missile strikes anywhere in front of you, you know? I just feel like anybody who had those powers would be unfathomably strong. I mean, just unimaginably, unforgivably strong, you know? You could have people in a base 50 miles away, like professional snipers with sniper rifles, and you could just open portals in front of them, and they would be like auto turrets that you could just deploy. You could just open portals between somewhere in front of you and somewhere there, and you'd have like fucking Navy SEAL Green Beret types just firing from them for a quarter second, and then you close the portal so they don't get shot back at. Just, there's so much you could do, you know?